You know, a lot of things wouldn't make any sense if it weren't for love. Just take music, for example. Without love, the blues would be beige. Country music would only be about beer and trucks. Rock and roll would need more guitar solos, and rap would probably stay the same. Without love, there would be no Whitney, Aretha, Dolly, Madonna, or Lady Gaga. There'd be no Elvis, Elton, Eagles, Beatles, or Barry White. But let's face it, love is just love. It's a second-hand emotion until you put it over time. Then it does something amazing. Love over time accomplishes something so powerful that we often miss it. But before I tell you what love over time does, I want you to think about love for a minute. Wasn't love God's idea? I mean, no wonder love gets so much press. God is a pretty good innovator, and He originated the brand. It's actually a good thing He didn't copyright it, because there'd be a lot of people out of business. The Bachelor would lose millions of viewers. No one would listen to Delilah. Hallmark would go bankrupt. But if you believe that love was God's idea, then a lot of things make sense. For example, now maybe you can understand why a newborn is so dependent on a mother's touch, why a child craves approval from a father, why a teenager looks for belonging, why two people will actually hold hands. We were created to love. That means that kids and teenagers around you are also designed to love and to be loved. So you are in a unique position to demonstrate this incredible thing that love over time can really do in the life of a kid. You'd think we'd understand by now the thing that love over time can do, but somehow we get so busy trying to matter that we forget what actually matters. It's kind of like the Pharisees. You remember them, right? They were the religious leaders who believed in God. They actually spent a lot of time learning what they thought mattered to God. They worked hard at keeping the rules. They showed up at the temple consistently. They prayed longer and harder than anyone. They studied the scriptures relentlessly, but they were so busy doing important things that they missed the most important thing. They missed the thing that love over time can do. Maybe that's why Jesus reprioritized in just a few sentences what matters most. He said it this way: "The greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your mind, soul, and strength. And the second part of the greatest commandment is this, to love your neighbor as yourself." Let me paraphrase. Love matters. I'll even elaborate. Loving God matters, loving yourself matters, and loving people matters. Actually, the Great Commandment makes several points at once about love. That loving God helps you love yourself, loving God helps you love others, loving yourself helps you love God, loving yourself helps you love others, loving others helps you love God, loving others helps you love yourself, and they're all true at the same time. I mean, what a genius idea. Of course it is. It came from the one who made you. And before you get too opinionated about an overemphasis on love, remember who said it. Just be careful you don't minimize what Jesus maximized. So stay focused. That's why love over time happens to be the best strategy to help kids know they matter. Love over time may be the only way to give a child something they really, really need. It may be the only way to give a child worth. And here's something else to consider. Maybe love matters more in the life of a child than even it does in the life of an adult. Think about that for a few minutes. This past year, I had two friends both take their lives. One was 23, one was 48. The first grew up in a strange cult that pushed her into sex trafficking. The second grew up in a Christian home, and she wrestled with anorexia. They both shared a common dilemma. They didn't know how to love themselves. They were both smart, attractive, determined people who tried really hard at life. But something was broken when they were young that stacked the odds against them. I'm not qualified to explain how or why, but here's a point I want you to consider. Kids need to learn to love themselves while they're kids. Kids desperately need adults who will love them in a way that will convince them that they are worth something when they are young. If kids don't feel loved when they're young, they may never love themselves in a healthy way. And if they never learn to love themselves, they may ultimately self-destruct. So the way you love kids while they're kids can dramatically affect their future. That's why we need more adults to step it up and play for keeps. It's time to get serious about loving the children around you. Most research seems to suggest the younger the recipient, the more powerful the impact. Love is like investing. It gains shares. The sooner you start paying in, the greater the return will be later. The longer you wait, the less you earn. Simply put, deposits in someone's life as a child will earn more interest. When you wait until they're adults, the gains are just slower. My oldest daughter is an artist. When she was a child, she believed every flat surface was a canvas. That included every wall, every table, every book, every door, and every piece of paper. She used pencils, pens, markers, chalk, crayon, and paint to leave her mark everywhere. So there were constant reminders of her talent all around us, all the time. They were her priceless creations, and I have to be honest, it felt like her art was costing me a lot more than it was worth. I'm not sure I recognized the value of what was happening. If you'd asked me then, I would have only priced it sentimentally. But slowly over time, her art evolved from uninteresting smears and scratches to sophisticated, emotional, and intricate paintings. During the past few years, people have actually paid her thousands of dollars for what she creates. Her experience in life as a child and teenager has finally begun paying off as an adult. When you start imagining the future of a child, you will start investing more in them now. If loving a child early begins to build a healthy sense of worth, then rejecting a child early can do the opposite. According to the World Health Organization, research now shows that many challenges in adult society, mental health problems, obesity, heart disease, criminality, competence in literacy, and mathematics have their roots in early childhood. Basically, how we love kids as kids will affect how they live as adults. There's a brief window of time from birth through adolescence when what we do in someone's life can matter more than at any other time. The time you spend every week with a child, playing, reading, talking, laughing, and loving is worth it. It's worth it because they are worth it. But again, you know that because you're older and wiser. So if you want kids to grow up and know they are worth it, then look for ways to prove love over time. Kids and teenagers need adults who will show up and be there consistently, patiently, regardless. They need adults who care enough to discover how they are wired and who they really are. They need someone in their life, someone who will not bolt and run when things get messy, before they will ever really believe that love is more than just a secondhand emotion. Playing for keeps simply means you get serious about what you do with your time. And when you play for keeps, you put love over time. One of the best ways to do that is to simply prove it. By prove it, we mean parents and leaders need to demonstrate love by being physically and consistently present. Because love is not a feeling, it's something you do. And remember, kids will test you. That's why you have a unique opportunity to prove you love them by showing up for them, regardless of their performance, in spite of their failure, and for no apparent reason. Author and artist C. Joy Bell C. says it this way. They say you have to earn the right to be loved. No, love is unconditional. If you love someone, they don't have to earn it. But the right to tell someone that you love them, that has to be earned. You have to earn the right to be believed. So as parents and leaders, let's earn the right to be believed. When it comes to love, it's time to play for keeps. It's time to get serious about proving it to the kids who matter most in our lives.